If you're buying a house here in East Tennessee, the odds are pretty good if you purchase in a rural area or one of the lake areas that your house is going to be on a septic system and not on public sewer. A lot of people have never lived in a home with septic before and they find it to be a little bit intimidating. So I'm going to break down for you exactly what a septic system is, what you need to know about it, and how you can maintain it so that you don't run into problems. So, first of all, a septic system is an underground wastewater treatment system. So, the wastewater from your home, when you flush your toilet, goes into a septic tank. And the solids are going to settle at the bottom, and the grease is going to float to the top. And what remaining liquid there is going to flow out into what we call the drain field or the field lines. And that's just a series of pipes that are buried out in your yard that filters that water back out into the soil. Typically, you're going to know where your field lines are because that grass tends to be a little bit greener than the rest of the yard. It's a natural system. It's been working in East Tennessee and other states for years and years. But what does it necessarily mean when you have a septic? So if you're house hunting, why are septic systems important? And this is what I can tell you. If a house is on a septic system and it advertises that it has 5 bedrooms, that septic tank is probably not permitted for a 5-bedroom house. Most homes are permitted for a 3-bedroom house. And I know that throws a lot of people off too, because in other states it may be number of bathrooms that you can have. But in Tennessee, a septic system is permitted for the number of bedrooms because it's looking at the total number of people that could live in that household. So when a developer develops a subdivision, they're usually not going to perk test for a 4 or 5-bedroom home. They're going to check for a 3-bedroom house. And if it perks for 3 bedrooms, they're off to the races, right? If you have a custom home that's been built, then yes, they might have gotten a 4-bedroom septic, but I've never actually seen a permit for a 5-bedroom septic. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm saying it's very rare. So if you're looking to purchase a home that you know is on a septic and it's advertising that it has 5 bedrooms, make sure that your agent goes online to the TDEC website and looks for that permit and pulls it so that you can compare that. Because if a home does not have a septic for a 5-bedroom, then you don't need to be paying for a 5-bedroom home. You would pay for a 3-bedroom home. That's very important because that is a state law in Tennessee. You cannot advertise more bedrooms than what the septic system is permitted for. The last thing you need to know about septic systems is how do you maintain them? If it's just you and one other person living in a house with a 3-bedroom septic, you probably don't have to get it pumped every 3 to 5 years like most people recommend you do. You can probably go 10 years before you have to have it pumped because it's all going to depend on the usage. You don't ever want to flush grease, harsh chemicals, baby wipes, flushable wipes. Those are not good for your septic system, okay? They're going to clog your tank up and you don't want that. You need to be cognizant of where your field lines are because you don't want to run heavy equipment over your drain lines. You don't want to park something, and you sure don't want to build anything over the top of your field lines, which could inhibit the ability of that water to come back out into the field. Now, what we always did, they sell this stuff called Rid-X. And if you have septic tanks, people swear by Rid-X. You buy the box of it, you pour it down the toilet once a month, you flush it. Usually you don't want to have to flush the toilet again for several hours, so they suggest putting it in before you go to bed or in the morning when you're leaving to go to work. But that helps to eat up that solid stuff like the paper products to keep your septic tank emptied out and working properly. So if you start having slow drains, if you start smelling something in your house or the ground is soggy after you flush the toilet, you probably need to call a septic guy to come out and check things out. It's better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to have to replace an entire septic system. So septic systems are pretty basic. There's nothing to fear about them. You just need to understand what they are, how they work, and how you can maintain them to keep you from paying for an expensive replacement years down the road. If you have questions about your septic or anything else that's real estate related, I'm happy to answer your questions. Just leave them in the comments.